What's going on, guys? It's your boy Anthony, back with another edition of the Fourth Man Podcast. Thank you again to everyone who's tuned in, and hope the offseason has been going super well for everybody involved in the Big Three community. As you see from the title of the video, or if you're just listening to this on the podcast, we got a dope episode today, a dope interview with co-captain of Enemies, Isaiah Austin. And this is an interview I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I just think he has such a unique and interesting story. He's as he mentions it time and time again, a one in a lifetime, generational talent within the basketball world. So super cool to hear kind of his background on getting to the Big Three and also his experience and what he's doing, not only playing in the Big Three, but also as a professional. For those of you who don't know, he works in the NBA. So cool to hear about that stuff. It's a really dope interview, cool conversation, cool dude. And we're going to get into all that. Before we get into the interview, make sure you're following the show on all social media at Fourth Man Pod, 4TH Man Pod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Be able to update you guys throughout the offseason on what's going on within the Big Three, as well as any updates that's coming on for the 2023 season. We saw Jeff Kwanowitz kind of hint at some big news that's coming on the horizon. So definitely we'll update you guys on that through the audio version or video version as well. But the first place you'll probably see it is any kind of social media, working on some different videos. So make sure you check us out over there. Again, we're trying some new things. So we're going to try to do some YouTube shorts here soon. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, youtube.com/fourthmanpod. You can also see all the visual versions of the podcast over there. And for those of you tuning on Dash Radio and the Nothing But Net channel, we appreciate you guys, as always, tuning in on Saturday and Monday. And I know I said, we'll get to the Isaiah Austin interview real quickly, but one thing I want to do is give a quick shout out to a couple of guys, a couple of Big Three vets within the league on some huge milestones and accomplishments that they were just honored with or, achieved here recently. First being David Hawkins, longtime, OG of the Big Three. He's been playing since 2017. He's played in every single season. He's played for Three's Company. He's played for Tri-State. He's played for Three's Company twice, and then most recently, he's part of the Trilogy team that won a championship, a team that he was actually a co-captain of back in 2019. David Hawkins was named to the Temple Athletics Hall of Fame as part of the 2022 class. So just want to give a huge congratulations to him. During David's time at Temple, he was a 2,000-point scorer, which he's only one of 4 players to do that at Temple in the men's basketball side. He also helped the team get to an Elite Eight appearance. Back in the early 2000s, as a freshman, he dominated as a senior and won a lot of championships overseas. So just huge shout out to the Hawk. He's been such a staple in this league. And I think a lot of people forget about, his impact and honestly, if we refer back to 2018, his dominance in this league. He was an MVP runner-up back with Tri-State on a team that included Amari Stoudemire, Nate Robinson, Jermaine O'Neal. So, Dr. J let him flourish, and he's been a staple to this league for a long time, and glad he got a championship as well. But even more excited that, your alumni is appreciating and acknowledging, what you did at Temple. So congrats, Hawk. Well-deserved. The other guy I want to give a shout out to is another OG vet, Xavier Silas, who just got a head coaching gig with the Wainabo Mets. Man, I hope I said that right. Wainabo Mets of the BSN League in Puerto Rico. He just was named a head coach. He's been an assistant coach in the G League since 2019 for both the Motor City Cruise as well as the Delaware Bluecoats. So the Sixers and the Pistons G League affiliates. So now getting a head coaching opportunity in a league that's really talented and star-studded. I know a few Big Three guys actually played in that league at some point in time. I'm trying to think of someone most recently. I think that Justin Dimmons played in that league. Ronaldo Balkman, who played in the league last year, he's played in that league, I think multiple times. So anyways, going back to X, huge congratulations. Xavier's left his imprint on this league in a number of fashions. He's part of the first Big Three trade that ever occurred between Ballhawks and Tri-State. Being drafted, he was drafted in the first ever draft in the Big Three at number 4 overall to Tri-State, and then was subsequently traded to Ballhawks in that trade between Jermaine O'Neal and Brian Scalabrine back in the day. So he's part of the first ever trade. He was the second player ever to go from the Big Three to an NBA or, get an NBA contract after playing in the Big Three. And he got a 10-day with the Celtics, by the way. And he also won a championship with Power in 2018. So he's accomplished a lot in this league. From the outside looking in, it looks like he's making strides. As a coach within the G League, I know Delaware was doing pretty good while he was there. Might have even won a chip at the time as one of the assistant coaches. So, just continuing to grow around the game of basketball. Just want to give a huge shout out to another OG vet, Xavier Silas. Very well deserved. And best of luck to you on your first head coaching gig down there in Puerto Rico. All right, we got all the shout outs out of the way. We'll just get straight to it. Pretty short first half of the episode. So thanks again for everyone listening. Make sure that you're following on all social media, subscribed on YouTube, and let's get to our interview with the unicorn, Isaiah Austin. But real quickly, before we get to Isaiah, I want to tell you guys quickly about Drip. If you haven't heard of Drip, Drip is a live streaming platform where you can buy and sell a multitude of items like sports cards, Pokemon cards, Funko Pop, sports memorabilia, pretty much anything you can collect, you name it. All of that can be found in one centralized location. And right now, if you download the app using my link in the description, you can get $15 off your first purchase of $20 or more anywhere on Drip. Look, guys, just like the Big Three is doing for basketball, Drip is trying to change the game for all types of collectors out there, whether it's sports or anything else in the world. So make sure you use my link in the description to download the app today and get $15 off your first purchase. And check out Drip. It's pretty dope. With that being said, now, I promise you guys, here's Isaiah Austin. Well, today we're excited to welcome on Big Three All-Star and also co-captain of Enemies, Isaiah Austin. Isaiah, again, appreciate the time and welcome to the Fourth Man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think everyone's pretty familiar with your story, but I do want to talk a little bit about your journey before you actually got to the Big Three. Just a little bit. First thing I want to touch on really is kind of like Baylor as a whole. There's a few guys that come from Baylor, but just overall in general, the love you guys show each other on social media and even in person. You guys just seem like such a tight-knit family. And by you guys, I mean like the Baylor community and the Baylor basketball team. What do you think it is about Baylor that makes everyone, so close and such like a supportive, tight-knit family?
Scott Drew. I mean, when I was there, it was Jerome Tang as well, Paul Mills, those guys, Coach Nunez, Coach Charlie, our weight coach. We had a whole bunch of guys, Coach Mack, Maloney, everybody, each and every one of those coaches were just like guys who are just genuinely care about you, as a person. And I feel like that just carried around to the culture that it brought around Baylor, and that's what drew players into it, is because they were just so genuine and, they really showed that they cared about you, as a man first, more than a basketball player.
Man, that's amazing. And I think that shows just by all the people or all the players that have gone on to have, successful professional careers, but also too, just like, the brotherhood that you guys have formed. I think that really shows. And I think it all starts with leadership. So that's really cool to see. Kind of going past your college career, again, I think a lot of people know your story. You play blind, you have your right eye, you're blind in your right eye, and then you also were diagnosed with Marfan syndrome leading up to the draft. I was kind of looking back at some old interviews you did when you first got cleared to actually play after Marfan syndrome. I think it was with Cassie Athena. And you talked a little bit about your mom being your rock, and it made you kind of emotional thinking that you're going to finally get to be able to play in front of her. I want to ask you about like your first game professionally after you were cleared. And was she in attendance by chance? But what was that feeling like with that first game professionally, after being cleared?
My mom wasn't there for my first game. I was actually in Serbia, but it was a surreal moment. I think I only played like 9 or 10 minutes. I was in Europe at the time. I really didn't understand what Europe was, but at the time, I was kind of disappointed in it, but I played well. I had a nice little season when I was out there in Serbia, but I decided to go towards the Asia route after that season.
Yeah, I think, but even so, that first year in Serbia, like the success is just getting back on that court and getting familiar. So a huge milestone there. You go on to play, 5 years overseas, which I think is super dope. You got to travel the world, still, live out your dream to play professionally and whatnot. I've always kind of wondered, kind of reading on some old articles and stuff, I know there were some hesitations with some leagues signing you just with what you were diagnosed. But after playing for so long, dominating, playing well, I mean, shit, you're a mismatch in probably any league you go to. But just wanted to know, was there ever a time where like an NBA team or a EuroLeague team came calling, after they saw you playing for a little bit and were like, okay, well, seems healthy, he's playing well. Why don't we just bring him in and see what he can, ultimately provide for our team?
At the time, I did have a few high level teams in Europe that wanted me, but they were kind of a little bit lowballing me. I did early when I first found out about that I was going to be cleared. That I did have a lot of NBA teams actually asked me to be able to come and work out, but because of what the NBA lawyers had said during that time, they just thought it was going to be too big of a liability for me to even play in the league. So that never came to fruition. But a lot of Europe teams had hit me, but at that time, I was chasing the money, man. To be honest, that's why I went to the Asia route. My son was born with me in Serbia. So me and my fiance, we wanted to make a steady life for my son. So we kind of talked about it and decided that we wanted to go the Asia route.
Man, that's amazing. While it does suck that necessarily you didn't get to play in the NBA, still amazing that you had, a long career. And also too, like, I think it's so important, like you said, you're chasing money, but it's so cool to see, like, I guess, like your generation and even a few guys that are older than you, just like understanding like what the overseas route involves now, and then like trying to warn or educate, the next generation as they're going overseas. I feel like I hear that a lot, guys writing books or, making educational videos. So I think that's cool. And I'm glad you got the opportunity. And what's really cool too is like, one league that, again, brought you in was the BIG3, and you now just finished up your second season in the BIG3. But I want to take it back to last year before you even drafted. First and foremost, how did the BIG3 opportunity come about for you, and why were you intrigued?
So I had first noticed the BIG3, rest in peace to my dog, Andre Emmett, when he was in it. And I remember I was questioning him about it, asking him about it, but at that time they had an age limit. And then once I found out that my first year, that was the first year that they were going to lower the age limit so they can get a lot of younger players in there. I had reached out to them, and they had told me that I can come to the combine. So I was actually playing in the Dominican Republic that time, so I flew home to Vegas to play in the combine, and then I played well in front of people, and it ended up turning into me becoming the number one draft pick. So I was just excited to be able to play in America again, because my whole career I've been playing overseas. The only time I actually played in America while I was a pro was when I played in the TBT. And so this gave me another opportunity to be able to play like an actual full season at home.
Yeah, for sure, like a guaranteed season, because I know the TBT, it's like you never know how far you're going to get for sure. And like you said, rest in peace to Dre. If I'm not mistaken, you're a Texas guy. Dre's from the Dallas area. What was your relationship like with Andre? And again, rest in peace to his soul.
It was like a big brother, to me. He was kind of one of those guys who always just instilled that hard work and desire into my game. I mean, every time we was on the court, especially when I was younger, he would kick my ass. He was one of those type guys.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me love. He showed everybody in Dallas love. It was a tragedy, to see what happened to him. But my personal relationship with him, he was one of those guys who I looked up to. I wanted to be able to score the ball like him. I wanted to be able to play in Korea. I remember when he was out there, I was reaching out to him like, man, how can I get out there? I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. I never ended up actually playing in Korea, but I ended up playing in Lebanon where he played, in the Dominican where he played, So I was able to follow a little bit of his path, but he was just one of those guys who always and continuously, put positive vibes into every basketball player around the DFW area. He's just one of those competitors that everybody just loved playing against.
No doubt. I think all you hear is positive things from Andre. So, from all of his peers, and, not to sound too corny, but I'm sure he, you weren't the only person's ass. He busted, obviously, as we saw in the Big Three. He's gone crazy, especially in that 2018 season when he took him to the title after BD went down. So yeah, again, rest in peace. That's really cool that the influence he left on, like, you being able to talk about him so much. Just amazing to see. Kicking it back to draft night real quickly. Obviously, you had a great combine that led to you being the #1 pick, but would love to know kind of if you had any conversations prior to that draft about going #1, because a lot of the lead up from the outside looking in was Nick Young's coming in, might bring his boys in to be a co-captain. We had heard that he was really good friend with Jordan Hill and that he was going to go #1. So I wanted to know from your perspective, what were some of the early conversations that you might have had with different teams, maybe even including enemies?
So I initially I didn't know. I was talking with my agent because he actually came to watch, and it was crazy because me and
cool.
Justin Dentman were actually on the combine team together. We was killing everybody.
I remember that.
Yeah, I think we ended up losing one game. Some guy was going crazy from the 4-point line. But we had won like 7 straight. So every time we was playing on the court, kind of like the crowd was just gravitating towards us and everything. But me and JD, we were kind of talking like, there's no way we're not going to get drafted, right? Because we didn't know how the draft was going to go. We kind of knew that everybody had their homeboys that they were going to possibly draft, if people were going to draft, just from likeliness or, guys who had that NBA stamp on them, and things like that. But when it came down to it, I think it was like the day before, Nick had actually texted me. He was like, congratulations. And I was like, congratulations? Like, what you mean? And he was like, you going 1, motherfucker. So I was like, all right, cool. So the whole next day, right, I'm like, I text Nick, I was like, man, you're not bullshitting me, right? And then the Big Three actually hit me up to get me on like the camera and everything. And then draft day came and I was #1. So I was real happy about that.
Yeah, that's dope. I think even too on our live stream, we had Dante call it out. He's like, I pick Isaiah Austin, and if I had the #1 pick, and so like I think everyone was just on it. Like you said, people were gravitating towards you guys toward the comp. The crazy part is JD didn't even get selected. I mean, everything worked out, but
yeah, but he didn't even get drafted, and he was
right.
the best guard at the combine by far. He was killing.
Yeah, that's what I remember too. I have like a funny clip from him. I can't remember what he said, but yeah, that was pretty nuts. But I guess everything happens for a reason or works out the way it does. Really cool draft story. Must have been kind of surreal to be drafted and actually get to you play for that team. You go in week 1. You guys are the first game of the season and your first game against Power, and it looked like when you came out in your first Big 3 game, you're just there to set a tone, right? Like you dropped 24-7. You and Royce have a little bit of back and forth. Obviously, it didn't end in the way you wanted to, but I feel like you and enemies left a statement there, but you most importantly, what were you trying to leave any kind of like imprint in your first game, coming into that first game?
I mean, I was just trying to play, like anytime I get on the court and it's time to bump, I want to be the big dog, I want to be the huncho on the court at all times. So,
No doubt.
I came out there, excited. My nerves was going crazy. I had never really played on American soil like that. I had my whole family in Vegas actually come out to watch me as well. So I was real nervous, but I just wanted to come out and play hard, man, and show people, that like I'm a one of one, type talent in the world, even though I never stepped foot in the league. I'm still a one of one talent. So I think I did show that the first game.
Yeah, no doubt. You definitely did. Definitely didn't look nervous, from this end for sure. Got to ask you about Nick being the captain, Gil being the coach, what that dynamic is like, and you being amongst all that. What do they ultimately bring to the team, and what's that like? Being a part of the team with those guys.
They just make it comfortable for us, even though both of our seasons have been a little bit down, and a little bit of disappointment, those guys keep our morale high. They always joking with each other in the locker room. They always telling us, that we can keep winning the next game even if we lose. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always positive reinforcement. But I've never seen any two people have a relationship like Nick and Gil have. You know, those dudes are kind of crazy, man. They some funny individuals, but it just goes back to them knowing each other, having that, building that relationship. You know, Gil was Nick's vet when he came into the league and everything. So I was just glad to be able to be around, you know, two legendary basketball players.
Yeah. What's the conversation between them like when you're winning on the sideline and then when you're losing? Like, you know, does anything change, or are they both kind of just still those same two guys?
It's the same thing, man. If we winning, it's jokes, and if we losing, it's jokes. Well, y'all getting y'all ass kicked on national television. How you gonna react? And well, look at us. We finally getting a win. Now we're not gonna be the laughing stock of the league. You know what I'm saying? So,
Is that
you
Gil
know,
saying that, or is that Nick saying that?
that's Gil, man. He be
Okay, I was
talking to
gonna
Nick,
say
calling Nick
Nick's
fat.
playing.
You know, calling me soft, calling Nick fat. You know, Gil go around and just be Gil. You know, he just talk shit all the time. He don't mean no harm by it, but this
Sure.
is who he is.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things to watch on his social media is just like the constant. I don't even know if it's beef anymore because I think Kwame is just kind of like done, but like just the shit that Gil brings up about Kwame, just
Gil
like
be
out of the
trying,
blue.
Gil be trying to fry that man any chance he get, man. It's all jokes. I think it's hilarious.
Nah, I did too for sure. You know, not the season you wanted in that first year. And ultimately for you, you get a chance to have a career in the NBA. You know, you kind of wrapped up your overseas career, but you do decide to come back to the Big Three for year two. What was the biggest reason behind, you know, wanting to come back for a second season?
I just wanted to play. You know, I had retired actually from the game overseas, so I just wanted to get my feet wet again, man. Just
Okay.
you know, get out there and bump, and you know, just show people that you know, even though I'm working a desk job right now with the league, you know, I still got some bumps in me.
For sure. I got a little
Yeah.
worried when I heard that you were retiring. I was like, man, one and done. Like you said, like you're a one-on-one talent, one and done. That's all we got. But I was glad to see you back for the second season.
Yeah.
Productive season, and honestly, really good start. Y'all got off to that 2-1 start. Y'all beat Power, who made it all the way to the championship game. You know, Enemies hasn't had a great start since their inception in 2019, but you guys got off to the first 2-1 start ever in Enemies franchise like history. Obviously things didn't ultimately end in the way you wanted to, but what do you feel like was the biggest factor to help you guys get to that 2-1 start? And do you feel like what do you feel like you guys got away from that, you know, kind of led to some of those losses down the stretch?
I feel like certain parts of the season, you know, we just wasn't playing how we could have played. You know, I could have contributed more on the scoring end for us. You know, Nick, he came in playing real well. You know, early for us. You know, and then he kind of slowed down a little bit as well. But I just think, you know, it was just our confidence or something, man. Like we would get down, and then all of a sudden we get down and we just stay down. We wouldn't fight back. So, you know, next year, you know, when we play, we got to make sure that we just fight the whole game because, you know, the games only go to 50, but at the same time, you know, it's the same amount of talent on every team. You know, anybody can win any night.
Yeah, and that last bucket I feel like is sometimes the hardest to get to drop. So yeah, just having that mindset, I think, will go a long way for you guys. But I think another reason too, right, is that I mean Elijah obviously got a chance to play in the summer league. He was having a phenomenal start to the year and then missed 3 games. And I bring him up because I feel like we give a lot of love to Briscoe, and rightfully so, right? 4th man of the year, 2-time champion, as being one of like those young guys that has really excelled in this league. But don't feel like we give enough love to like what Elijah's done in this league for Enemies and the time he's been there. You know, what can you say about his game and you know, just playing alongside him, you know, with Enemies?
That motherfucker is special talent, man. I mean,
For
like
sure.
he's one of those guys who can just make an impact on any team that he's on. You know, that's why he's been so successful overseas. You know, I was actually in Vegas. I wish that the Pelicans would have played him a little bit more because when he did play, you know, he made a huge impact on the court. He's just one of those guys who just always brings energy. You know, he can guard multiple positions. He's a freak athlete. He can shoot the ball, and he can put the ball on the floor. So, you know, I think he doesn't get enough credit as well. I think that really hurt us, you know, not having him on the team. as well, going on in the season. But hopefully next year we'll have him back.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like he was out of college. He was like deemed like a shooter mostly, but in this league, I've seen nothing but him just like being able to do everything like you said. So incredibly special. Hopefully, he gets to play the full season. But I gotta ask you, you did, one thing you did do is lead the league in blocks. You feel like you were snubbed from the Depoy Award, or you feel like Earl rightfully deserved that one?
Uh, Nah, he definitely deserved it, man. I
Okay.
mean, he was number one in steals as well,
Mm.
and then number two in blocks. So I don't want to take nothing away from him because that guy's a killer. But I definitely was if they didn't cut us out for the bottom half of the season for our last two games, I definitely was gonna, shatter that block record. That was kind of my goal. I had told Quincy Miller before the season, I was like, man, like I want to show people, that I could really be a rim protector and guard the rim. Because I didn't feel like my first year in the Big Three, I was really blocking shots like that. And that's what I was kind of known for coming out of high school and at Baylor and playing overseas. I have three countries where I won Defensive Player of the Year overseas. So I kind of told Q Miller, like, I was like, man, I'm gonna show everybody, I still got that dog, and that I'm not afraid to jump with anybody at the rim. Like I'm not giving no gifts to nobody. So I feel like if I would have played all 8 games, I definitely would have came out with 17, 18 blocks.
Yeah, for sure. Like just like inches away from breaking that, but like you said, more success, and hopefully a full season will lead to you breaking that next year. Uh, for you guys and enemies, you guys are with aliens making the playoffs this year. However it happened, they did make the playoffs. But for you guys with enemies, you're now one of 3 teams that haven't made the playoffs yet, with Ball Hogs and also Bivouac. What do you feel like for you guys, like what do you feel like you guys need to do next year in order to kind of get over that hump and ultimately be able to compete for a championship?
Uh, I feel like we just need to come out how we came out the first 3 games, and keep that momentum all throughout the season. We can't let one loss drag us down because everybody in the league is a pro. A pro is pro. So if we lose one game, it's all right. We got to just shake back and win the next one.
Yeah. And now you're a co-captain for a very long off team for the big three. So maybe I'm sure a couple guys have maybe reached out to you, but maybe you have a couple guys in mind to maybe add to the draft or to draft next year that could maybe help you guys out. I don't know if that's crossed your mind at all, but you know,
Yeah, it's
got a little
something we
bit of
need to talk about.
authority.
So yeah, we got a long way to go until next season, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely something we need to talk about.
No doubt. Like I mentioned, you were an all-star. You're one of the first all-stars ever in this league. You got a chance to play in Atlanta in an all-star game. I was actually in Atlanta, and honestly, probably the best Big Three event I've been to.
Big,
Uh,
huge show out, sold
like,
out. I loved it.
yeah, like not only was the crowd ridiculous, but like just star-studded, like celebrities. The celebrity game was there. 2 Chainz pulled up. Great, great end of the season, and the All-Star game was dope. What were your thoughts on the All-Star game and just like the event in Atlanta?
Man, I thought it was a blast, man. I actually, thought, I didn't really know how the turnout was going to be, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, in some of these cities we weren't getting really crazy turnouts. I feel like the Big Three always had more turnouts, more fans when they traveled city to city, and when I found out I was going to Atlanta, I kind of knew that it was going to be a little bit like that. That there was going to be a big crowd because that's a basketball city. They're just a sports town.
Mm-hmm.
They love baseball, basketball, football. And I saw when they had the celebrity game lined up, I was like, okay, yeah, I know we're gonna get a nice crowd out here then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, NLE Choppa and Gilly were going nuts, so that was pretty funny too. But I hope the league, finally after a couple seasons, they get to travel again from city to city. I think that's what when the big crowds turned out, it's like a one in a lifetime experience. And I don't know, I think the tour kind of made it more fun, more so than just playing in the same city time and time again.
Yeah.
I'm sure, especially like the first year, you're just like, dang, like like you guys spent what, like 6, 7 weeks in Vegas? Like I'm sure you were just tired of being in Vegas after so long.
No, Vegas was cool. It's just, it's tough to compete with all the entertainment that's already in Vegas.
For sure. For sure. I went to that Vegas, one of the Vegas events, and yeah, had a tough time getting up that morning, let's just say. So for sure. One thing I got to mention, you mentioned that you get a chance to play stateside. Now, not only does your mom get to see you play and your wife gets to see you play, but your son also gets to see you play. Can you kind of just talk about like just the surreal moment of like looking back at everything? You thought for a second that you weren't going to play professionally, and now you're getting the chance to play in front of your son. Like what can you say about just like the experience and the journey, and now like looking at it from this moment?
It just all comes full circle, man. Like, I never decided to quit. I never decided to give up. And, God had blessed me with another opportunity to be able to enjoy what he had blessed me with the first time. So you just can't give up hope. You can't give up faith. And, you just got to walk in your journey and your path, and things will turn out for you at the end. So that's all I can say, man. It's just, it all comes back full circle at the end of the day.
For sure, because you got to say that course. Quickly want to touch on your desk job now at the NBA. You got a chance to now work for the NBA. I guess, what is your job within the NBA right now? And ultimately, what are you hoping to do within the league?
Yeah, so I work in the front office with player development. Basically, we're focused on player interest. When I say player development, most people think that we're on court, but we're not on court. We work on player interest outside of basketball. We help develop programs for guys who are, retired guys, or guys who are heading out of the league, or guys who just have interest points in other things outside of basketball, and help them find a way to be able to transition away from basketball when the time is right, so they're not struggling, basically.
What do some of those things like, I guess, include? Do they include like courses, or more so just like, is it like an educational learning?
Yeah, we have courses, we have programs where people can actually like participate in. For instance, the assistant coaches program. This year we're actually going to call it the coaches development program. But like, if you had NBA or G League experience or W experience, there's an opportunity for you after your career is done, or even if your career is still going on overseas, for you to enter this program, where basically we put you in opportunities to be able to learn about coaches, about the coaching side, learn about the business of basketball. We teach people how to use synergy, game plan, things like that, to help them prepare for if they want to step into that coaching realm. So this year we had actually Candace Dupree, who actually just got a job with the San Antonio Spurs with Coach Pop. She was a candidate in the ACP program. We also had Boobie Jackson with us, Arinze Anawaku. They both got some G League jobs. So there's a lot of people that go through the program who actually land in either the G League or the NBA or the W, somewhere with coaching, who come through the program. So we do a lot of things like that. We also have like a Harvard program for people who want to go back to school, and just anything that players want, we'll try to make a way for them to be able to go through that avenue, basically.
Man, that's amazing. Wait, you have a Harvard program? Does that mean if they go to that school, they have a Harvard degree?
I'm not sure about that.
That's pretty dope,
I know
honestly.
that there's a Harvard program, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty dope. And for you, are you trying to be a coach? Or are you trying to work in the front offices of capacity, or is it more so just trying to stay around basketball?
Um, I don't want to go the coaching route. I actually participated in the assistant coaches program. This year I had actually a few opportunities to choose, a different job. But I decided I wanted to stay with player development just because of the fact that I like helping people, and I feel like this job is just it's really centered around, being selfless and thinking about other people, more than you think about yourself. So if I'm able to help the next person, then I'm happy.
For sure, no doubt. That's really sick. Couple more questions. I want to touch on real quickly, kind of like quick hitters. First one being, if there's for next year, is there somebody that you'd like to see in the Big Three that hasn't played in the Big Three yet? Who would it be?
That hasn't played in the Big Three yet. Who would it be?
As you know, the league's getting a little bit more talented
Jamal
year in and year
Crawford.
out. Oh, that'd be sick. I feel
That
like
would
every
be
year
that would be Crazy.
He's come out and said that he's not going to do it, but maybe someone can push him over the
Yeah.
hump. That'd be sick. Second question being, if you could describe your style and your game to somebody maybe that's not familiar with you for some odd reason, how would you describe that?
The unicorn before the actual unicorn was drafted. I would say, I do it all. I wouldn't consider myself a position player. I call myself a ball player. I handle the rock. I really have some of the best handles, ever for a 7-footer, behind Kevin Durant. I think that's the only other person who I could think who could really put the ball on the ground like me. I could shoot the ball. I got fadeaways. I got left hand, right hand, floaters, hooks, sweeping hooks. I got everything. So I play defense. I block shots. I just feel like I'm a one of one.
No doubt. I mean, was your like growth spurt just like sporadic, or how did that ultimately were you just like playing guard?
I've been tall my whole life, man.
Okay.
My favorite player was just Allen Iverson growing up. My mom, she always tells people these stories. I used to just lock myself in the bathroom and just bounce the ball around. She would just be beating on the door until I felt like opening it.
And that's nuts. Your handles are insane. Just nuts, which I mean, you've worked on it for so long, but just nuts for like, someone as tall as you are. I mean, I think about someone like me, like 6 foot, like just struggling to do that. Obviously I don't practice every day, but struggling to do that even from a 6 foot standing height. So just nuts. Like, love to watch your game, and excited to watch you next year play for enemies. Last thing I want to touch on here, I know that you have the Isaiah Austin Foundation that you started back a little while ago, but want to give you the floor to kind of plug anything along with your foundation that you might be working on or doing that you want people to know about.
Yeah, actually, right now the foundation has been put to a standstill, just because I have so many other things that I'm doing right now, with my family. I really wanted this year when I took off of basketball to just focus on being there for my family, being there for my son, for my fiance, and just spending quality time with them that I had missed while playing overseas. So hopefully, eventually one day I'll pick it back up, but right now I've just been focusing on my career in the league, trying to help as many people as I can, and just being the best father and man that I can be.
Yeah, no doubt. In a sense, like that is the foundation, right? You're still helping people, and whether it's personal relationships or professional. So still really cool to see. But thanks again for coming on the show. Best of luck during this NBA season as you continue to further along in your career, and excited for next summer.
I appreciate you, man.
Well, that was our interview with Zeke, Isaiah Austin. Just want to say thank you again to him for coming on. A guy that I admire for a really long time. So it was super dope. Not only that, the first time he followed the Fourth Man account, but also too, just for him to be, respond to me after asking him to come on. He was super nice about it and really enjoyed the conversation. It's so crazy, what he's been able to accomplish. And it's just exciting to see, him be a part of this league. And, not only now, but going forward, I hope he is on this enemies team when they eventually are able to, kind of get over that hump, get over that 500 record, and, hopefully this upcoming year, make the playoffs. That'd be super cool. But thanks again, Isaiah, for coming on. Also, just want to give a big shout out to you guys for continuing to listen. I know that the Big 3 off season is the longest off season in, professional sports era. However, a lot can occur there. And so I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Again, I try to make sure that not only are we talking about the Big 3 and updating you on what's going on within the league, but I also want you guys to, kind of understand and know what the players are doing during the offseason. These guys have a lot of ventures outside of basketball and also have a lot of ventures within basketball. So it's cool to follow their journeys, especially with guys that we've come to admire that maybe don't have the, most prominent names or might not be as well known to others outside of the basketball community, or, maybe to the casuals, to put it, man, I'm sounding old, to put it more hip, I guess, in that way. But thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you're following and subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time.